Stop babying your aging joints because the medical establishment has been lying to you for decades about what it takes to age gracefully. They have told you to take it easy, to slow down, to put your feet up and enjoy your golden years. But I am here to tell you that rest is rust. Settling into that recliner after your 75th birthday is the absolute fastest way to guarantee a one-way ticket to the nursing home. It is a harsh truth, but someone has to tell you what they do not want you to know. In fact, a groundbreaking 2024 study published by the Oxford Institute of Aging revealed a staggering statistic that should change how you live today. They found that 82% of seniors lose their physical independence, not from the natural aging process itself, but from the severe bodily disuse that modern society encourages. Let me be very clear about this. Your body is not failing because it is old. Your body is failing because you have stopped demanding anything of it. Today, I am going to share the 6 exceptionally rare habits of seniors between the ages of 75 and 85 who completely defy biological aging. These are the top 1% of super-agers who are outliving their peers and enjoying an incredible quality of life. I will warn you right now. Number 1 on this list goes against absolutely everything you have been told about taking it easy, and it is the single greatest predictor of whether you will be playing on the ground with your great-grandchildren or watching them sadly from a hospital bed. Before we dive into this life-changing countdown, I want to know who I am speaking to today. Tell me your exact age and where you are watching from in the comments below, and please share your biggest daily health struggle right now. Do your knees ache? Are you fighting brain fog? I sit down with my coffee every single morning and read every single comment because your stories are why I do this. All the scientific references for today's video are linked down in the description below. Number 6 on our list of super-aging habits is the ability to maintain absolute floor independence. If you drop a pen on the kitchen floor and your heart skips a beat because you fear going down to get it, your biological clock is ticking dangerously fast. The ability to transition from a standing position down to the floor and back up again without relying on furniture or another person is the ultimate test of human longevity. A landmark study conducted by the University of Copenhagen followed thousands of older adults and discovered that those who could easily rise from the floor had a phenomenal 67% reduction in all-cause mortality over the next decade. Why is this seemingly simple movement so powerfully predictive of your lifespan? Because getting up from the ground is a massive symphony of biomechanics. It requires the precise coordination of your core, the flexibility of your hips, and the raw power of your glutes and quadriceps. As we age, we fall victim to a condition called sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function. By the time you are 80, you can lose up to 50% of your muscle mass if you do not actively fight back. Furthermore, this full-body movement forces your mitochondria, which are the tiny cellular power plants inside your muscles, to produce massive amounts of energy on demand. When you stop getting on the floor, those power plants shut down permanently. Think of your muscles like a fleet of delivery trucks. If you leave the trucks parked in the garage for years, the batteries die, the tires rot, and the engines seize up. The only way to keep the fleet running is to drive them every single day. The practical preparation for this is incredibly straightforward, but requires consistency. You do not need to drop to the floor immediately if you are not ready. Start by sitting on a sturdy dining chair. Slide down to a padded mat on your knees, and then practice pulling yourself back up using the chair for support. Do this 3 times every morning immediately after waking up. The optimal synergy tip to enhance this habit is to drink a large glass of warm water with a pinch of Celtic sea salt right before you do this, while exposing your eyes to natural morning sunlight. The hydration combined with the minerals lubricates your fascia, which is the web of connective tissue wrapping your muscles, making the physical movement significantly smoother and less stiff. Number 5 is mastering unilateral spatial balancing, which simply means the ability to stand perfectly still on one leg, especially with your eyes closed. The silent killer of the elderly is not always a massive heart attack or a stroke. Very often, it is the devastating, unexpected fall that shatters the hip, sends you to the hospital, and begins a rapid downward spiral of immobility and pneumonia. Standing on one leg changes your structural destiny. Researchers at Kyoto University recently published data showing that the ability to balance on one leg for just 20 seconds is directly correlated with profound brain health and microvascular integrity. They noted a 45% lower risk of severe cognitive decline in seniors who maintain this skill into their late 70s. This works so beautifully for the aging body because of a concept called proprioception. Proprioception is your brain's internal GPS system. It is the continuous neurological conversation happening between the nerve endings in the soles of your feet and the balance centers in your brain. After the age of 75, the insulation around your nerves, called the myelin sheath, begins to degrade. This slows down the signal. When you challenge your balance, you force your nervous system to build new neural pathways, completely bypassing the damaged ones. It is actively fighting neuroinflammation by demanding that the brain stay sharply connected to the lower extremities. I want to tell you about a patient of mine named Robert. Robert is 78 years old, living in Austin, Texas. 2 years ago, Robert could barely walk down his driveway without a cane, and he was terrified of the steps leading up to his front porch. I prescribed him a strict daily balancing routine. 6 months later, Robert walked into my clinic holding his cane in the air, completely unassisted, proudly telling me he was dancing with his wife again. His transformation was entirely due to waking up his proprioceptive system. To implement this, you must practice optimal timing. The best time to do this is while you are brushing your teeth at night. Stand near the sink so you have an immediate handhold if you wobble. Lift one foot 2 inches off the ground and aim for 30 seconds. Then switch. Once that becomes easy, try doing it with your eyes closed, which removes your visual anchor and forces your inner ear and feet to do all the heavy lifting. To supercharge this habit, the synergy tip is to pair your balancing practice with a high-quality omega-3 fatty acid supplement taken with your dinner. The DHA in the fish oil physically rebuilds that protective myelin sheath around your nerves, allowing the balance signals to travel from your feet to your brain at lightning speed. Number 4 is embracing a daily 14-hour metabolic fasting window. If you are eating food from the exact moment you wake up until the moment your head hits the pillow at night, you are force-feeding your aging cells straight into cellular exhaustion. The concept of eating 6 small meals a day is one of the most toxic pieces of advice ever given to the senior population. The prestigious Salk Institute conducted comprehensive research on time-restricted eating in older populations and found that maintaining a 14-hour fasting window triggers a massive 55% reduction in markers for metabolic syndrome. But why is this so critical for someone in their late 70s or 80s? It comes down to a physiological roadblock called anabolic resistance. As you age, your body becomes incredibly stubborn and inefficient at processing nutrients, particularly carbohydrates and proteins. Your insulin sensitivity plummets. When you constantly eat, your pancreas has to pump out insulin continuously. Eventually, your cells become deaf to the insulin signal, leading to high blood sugar, systemic inflammation, and rapid aging of the blood vessels. By closing your eating window, you give your pancreas a desperately needed vacation. More importantly, fasting for 14 hours flips a metabolic switch that activates autophagy. Autophagy is a biological process where your body acts like a cellular garbage truck. It travels through your bloodstream, identifies old, damaged, and mutated cells, and literally eats them, recycling the parts to build fresh, young, healthy cells. If you never fast, the garbage truck never leaves the garage, and cellular waste builds up in your brain and joints. The practical preparation is easier than you think. You do not need to starve yourself. Simply finish your last bite of dinner by 7 o'clock in the evening and do not consume your first calorie the next day until 9 o'clock in the morning. That is 14 hours, and you will be asleep for the vast majority of it. The optimal synergy tip here is to consume 1 large cup of black organic coffee or plain green tea at 7 in the morning during the fasting window. The caffeine and antioxidants in these beverages act as metabolic catalysts, rapidly accelerating lipolysis, which is the clinical term for breaking down stored body fat for energy, all while keeping your cellular garbage trucks working at maximum capacity. If you are finding this information eye-opening and you want to continue discovering the medical truths that keep you young, vibrant, and out of the hospital, please take 1 second right now to click that red subscribe button, hit the like button, and tap the notification bell. It is completely free, it supports this channel immensely, and it ensures you never miss the life-saving health protocols I release every single week. Now let us move on to the top 3 habits of the ultimate super-agers. Number 3 is engaging in calculated high-intensity cardiovascular intervals, which means intentionally spiking your heart rate. The comfortable, leisurely stroll around your neighborhood block is wonderful for clearing your mind and getting fresh air, but I have to be completely honest with you. It is doing absolutely nothing to stop the biological aging of your heart muscle. The cardiovascular system of an 80-year-old requires a completely different stimulus than a gentle walk. A remarkable 2023 clinical trial conducted by the Mayo Clinic demonstrated that when older adults engaged in short bursts of high-intensity interval training, they actually reversed age-related differences in mitochondrial function by an astonishing 69%. They made old cells behave exactly like young cells. Let me explain the mechanics of why this works. As you age past 70, your heart undergoes a process where the left ventricle becomes rigid. Think of your heart like an old rubber band that has been sitting in a desk drawer for 10 years. It gets stiff, dry, and loses its snap. When you only do low-intensity activities, that rubber band never gets stretched. When you safely spike your heart rate through intervals, you force blood into the chambers, stretching that stiff ventricular tissue and making it pliable and elastic again. It radically improves your VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can utilize during exercise. I witnessed this miracle firsthand with my patient Martha, an 81-year-old grandmother from Columbus, Ohio. Martha came to me complaining that she was severely winded just climbing the 14 stairs to her bedroom. We started her on a highly modified interval protocol. Today, at 82, she regularly hikes steep trails with her daughter without stopping for breath. Her heart transformed from a stiff, aging pump into a dynamic, elastic engine. The optimal way to prepare for this is to use a stationary recumbent bike to completely protect your joints. After a 5-minute gentle warm-up, pedal as fast and as hard as you safely can for exactly 30 seconds. You should be breathing heavy enough that you cannot hold a conversation. Then, pedal very slowly for 90 seconds to recover. Repeat this cycle just 4 times. Do this 3 days a week. The synergy tip for heart intervals is to consume a shot of concentrated beetroot juice 2 hours before your exercise. Beetroots are packed with dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts as a powerful vasodilator, meaning it opens up your blood vessels, lowering your blood pressure and allowing massive amounts of oxygen-rich blood to flood your heart muscle during the intervals. Number 2 on our countdown of super-aging habits is consistently lifting heavy physical loads through progressive resistance. If you are using those little pink 2-pound dumbbells to do endless arm circles, you are insulting your aging muscles. Your muscles are desperately starving for heavy mechanical tension, which is the only language they understand to survive. A cornerstone study out of Tufts University looked specifically at frail octogenarians, people in their 80s, who were placed on a heavy progressive resistance training program. The medical community was shocked when the results showed that these seniors increased their absolute muscle strength by 113% in just 12 short weeks. They literally doubled their strength. The biological reason heavy lifting is mandatory for seniors is because of how your muscle fibers are constructed. You have type 1 slow twitch fibers for endurance and type 2 fast twitch fibers for power and strength. Aging aggressively targets and destroys your type 2 fast twitch fibers first. This is why seniors lose their explosive power to catch themselves when they trip. When you lift heavy weights, you specifically recruit and rescue those dying type 2 fibers. Furthermore, heavy resistance is the only natural way to increase bone mineral density. When a heavy load pulls on a tendon, that tendon pulls on the bone, which powerfully stimulates osteoblasts. Osteoblasts are specialized cells whose sole biological purpose is to manufacture new bone tissue, completely reversing osteoporosis. You must expose your skeletal system to heavy loads to force it to adapt and grow denser. The practical dosage for this is 2 to 3 days a week of lifting a weight that feels genuinely challenging by the 8th repetition. If you can lift a weight 15 times easily, it is completely useless for building muscle or bone in a senior body. You should focus on pushing, pulling, and squatting movements. The absolute best synergy tip for resistance training is nutritional timing. Because of the anabolic resistance we discussed earlier, your muscles need a massive chemical trigger to grow. You must consume at least 30 grams of high-quality protein, specifically ensuring it is rich in the amino acid leucine within 1 hour of finishing your heavy lifting. Leucine acts as a biological key that unlocks the muscle-building machinery in your cells. Pair a whey protein isolate shake or a large portion of wild-caught salmon with your lifting days to guarantee your body has the raw materials it needs to build strong, resilient tissue. And finally, we arrive at number 1. The single most powerful, incredibly rare, and deeply surprising habit of the ultimate 75 to 85-year-old super-ager is embracing intentional thermal stress, specifically routine cold exposure. Modern society has completely conditioned us to stay perfectly comfortable. We live in 72-degree climate-controlled houses, drive in heated cars, and take steaming hot showers. This cozy, endless comfort crisis is rapidly accelerating the decay of your immune system and your metabolic health. The Karolinska Institute recently mapped the physiological changes in older adults who subjected themselves to brief, intense cold adaptation. The researchers documented that cold exposure increases brown adipose tissue activity and boosts the production of a critical neurotransmitter called norepinephrine by up to 500%. Why is cold water the ultimate anti-aging tool? It relies on a biological principle known as hormesis. Hormesis simply means that a brief, manageable dose of physical stress triggers a massive cascade of repair and longevity hormones that make you younger. When cold water hits your skin, your body immediately undergoes severe vasoconstriction, where all the blood vessels on the surface of your body clamp down tightly to push warm blood into your deep internal organs. The moment you step out of the cold, your vessels undergo rapid vasodilation, opening wide up to let the blood rush back. This aggressive closing and opening acts as a profound cardiovascular workout for your circulatory system, keeping your veins and arteries incredibly flexible. Furthermore, the massive spike in norepinephrine acts as a powerful systemic anti-inflammatory agent, wiping out the chronic, low-grade joint inflammation that causes arthritis pain. I have a patient named Arthur, an 84-year-old retired architect from Seattle. Arthur suffered from miserable, aching joints and chronic fatigue that kept him trapped in his armchair. I convinced him to start utilizing thermal stress. He began taking a regular warm shower, but finishing the final 60 seconds with the water turned completely to cold. The shock was intense at first, but within 3 weeks, Arthur's chronic joint pain vanished. His energy levels skyrocketed, and he proudly told me he had not caught a single winter cold in 2 years. The immune system boost was truly remarkable. To prepare for this safely, you never start with an ice bath. You simply take your normal, comfortable morning shower. When you are completely finished washing, reach up and turn the dial to cold. Start with just 15 seconds on your chest and back, and slowly build your tolerance up to 60 seconds over a period of a month. The synergy tip for cold exposure is to utilize deep, diaphragmatic breathing immediately before and during the cold water plunge. By taking 10 massive deep breaths in through the nose and forcefully exhaling through the mouth before the cold water hits, you hyperoxygenate your bodily tissues and calm the central nervous system, which completely neutralizes the panic response and allows the anti-aging benefits of the cold to flood your system. Aging is not a disease, but frailty is a choice. The medical community has spent decades convincing you that getting older means inevitably getting weaker, slower, and more dependent on pharmaceutical drugs and walking aids. But the science tells a completely different story. It tells us that your body is a brilliant, adaptable machine that responds to exactly what you demand of it. Whether it is lifting yourself off the floor, challenging your balance, resting your digestion, pushing your heart, lifting heavy loads, or shocking your system with cold, these 6 habits are the blueprint for absolute physical independence. True quality of life in your 70s and 80s is not about merely existing. It is about having the strength, the dignity, and the vitality to live life entirely on your own terms. It means carrying your own groceries, traveling without fear, and holding your grandchildren without your back giving out. I want you to look in the mirror today and realize that it is absolutely never too late to rebuild your body, rewrite your biological clock, and become one of the rare super-agers. Your best, most vibrant days can still be ahead of you if you are willing to do the things that the average person simply refuses to do. If this video opened your eyes and gave you hope, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this exact video with a friend or family member who desperately needs to hear this message today. And before you go, I want you to answer this question down in the comments. Which of these 6 super-aging habits are you going to start practicing tomorrow morning? I cannot wait to read your answers. Stay strong, stay moving, and I will see you in the next video.